everybody, my name is Annie Cross and I am the Science and Training Specialist for the Nature Conservancy Reef Resilience Network. Today I'm going to talk to you about an online training that we developed on resilience-based management of coral reefs. So first I'd like to tell you a little bit more about the Reef Resilience Network. The network is a learning community hosted by the Nature Conservancy and partners to train, mentor, and prepare reef champions to sustainably manage coral reefs by combining the latest science with traditional or local knowledge. For nearly 2 decades, the Reef Resilience Network has equipped and empowered managers around the globe to effectively manage, protect, and restore coral reefs. We've trained over 47,000 managers to date in 88% of the 103 countries and territories with coral reefs. And we have about 1 million people visiting our website each year to access our online resources. So the network reaches its members through a few key strategies: to provide the latest research and management insights by keeping our members updated with the newest science and best practices, to connect managers with a global community by creating opportunities for members to interact with peers and experts worldwide, such as our webinars. And we also offer valuable support and training, and we empower members by providing training, funding, and mentorship to help launch monitoring, outreach, and conservation projects. So to do this, we have a website called the Network Hub that includes online courses, such as the one I'm going to be telling you about, and they're either self-paced or mentored. Toolkits, which is our online content that builds understanding and skills on a variety of management topics. Case studies about proven management solutions from all over the world that we update regularly. Article summary that help our managers keep up with the latest science and peer-reviewed papers. And webinars and recording of those webinars that provide opportunities for our managers to interact with our experts. We also have in-person trainings on topics critical to coral reef conservation and management. So these training ensure managers have access to the latest science and management strategies, and then our website puts relevant, reliable information at their fingertips. So I'd like to talk a little bit more about the resilience-based management course that we launched in May 2023, and as you can see, it's one of the many that we are currently offering. We've developed the reef-based management course in collaboration with the Resilient Reef Initiative, led by the Great Barrier Reef Foundation and the Reef Resilience Network partners. This course is actually an update of the network's hallmark resilience course. And it was developed following an in-person training, an in-person resilience-based management workshop that happened at the International Coral Reef Initiative. And through the network's participation in the Resilient Reef Initiative, which is a 5-year partnership to build resilience of 4 World Heritage Coral Reef sites, we've been able to update this course. So the goal of this course is to provide foundational knowledge to managers on coral reef resilience and resilience-based management. So RBM was in high demand for marine managers, and everyone wanted to apply RBM to their work, but very few people understood what that looked like. And so we really built that course around that gap. The course is not a training on how to develop a resilience-based management for an MPA, but it's rather a pre-step to understanding what embarking on an RBM strategy would look like. So the course was offered as 2 mentored courses and is currently open as a self-paced online course, and it's offered in several languages. It has been well received with over 1,000 registrants from 112 countries and territories, of which about a third have completed at least one lesson and about a quarter have completed the full course. The course is structured in 4 lessons. The first one, the principles of reef resilience, provide an overview of the concept of resilience. The second really looks into what is resilience-based management. In the third lesson, we take a step back to talk about adaptive management, which is a core element of resilience-based management, so we reframe it in that way. And finally, the fourth lesson really goes into developing a resilience strategy following the framework developed by the Resilient Reef Initiative. So I'd like to talk to you a little bit more about what's actually in the course. So for example, in lesson 1, we look at the definition of resilience. Resilience is defined as the ability of the system to maintain key functions and processes in the face of disturbances by resisting, recovering from, or adapting to change. And so we really try to put these 3 steps or things happening into a framework of these 3 dimensions for reef resilience. So reef resilience can be influenced by coral reefs, the individuals and communities that depend on them. So within the reef resilience, we have these 3 dimensions. The first one is ecosystem, which are defined by coral reef, associated habitats and watersheds. Community, which are all the stakeholders dependent on reef for livelihood. And governance, the organizational structure that surrounds the reef ecosystem and the communities. We also define attribute of reef resilience, on which we then focus to really look at what are the strategies to enhance some of those attributes. So for example, for ecological resilience, one of the attributes we discuss is habitat condition. For social resilience, one of the attributes we go into is knowledge and stewardship. And finally, for governance system, an example of an attribute that we discuss is leadership and management. We also define what resilience-based management is. Resilience-based management is an approach to natural resource management that focuses on enhancing the resilience of ecosystems, communities, and social ecological systems. So we really try to bring in that idea that RBM integrates humans within the ecosystem and that it manages for large-scale change, uncertainty, and surprise. We also touch on the fact that it relies on governance systems, and so that those governance systems themselves will need to build in resilience. We conclude the course by presenting the Resilient Reef Initiative Resilience Strategy, which, as I mentioned earlier, has been piloted at 4 UNESCO sites: the Belize Barrier Reef, the lagoons of New Caledonia, the Ningaloo coast of Australia, and the Rock Islands in Palau. We present a step-by-step approach to building the resilience strategy, along with a description to each step, and we include case studies around these sites and activities to start thinking and building experience around the process. So through our 2 mentored course and on our self-paced online course, we've been able to pull together some of the emerging themes in terms of questions asked by managers and maybe where there are gaps in our current training and some of the challenge we need to face to update and improve the course for the future. So one of the key topic around which a lot of questions came up was stakeholder engagement. How do you build trust with stakeholders for a process that is iterative and provides solutions that are meant to change? How do you involve stakeholders in the process and in decision making? And how do you keep them engaged? Another topic was governance. For example, accountability of governance and challenges with governance. How do you build an adaptive process within a rigid framework of governance? One particular example, for example, is how do you modify the permitting process linked to legislation to allow for novel and innovative activities that often accompany resilience-based management. So a lot of questions there as well. And finally, the third topic of discussion has been around organizational change. So how do you create and initiate organizational change? How do we enable the organization and other agencies to make the changes outlined within a strategic plan or policy? And what is the process that would support organization to actually adopt RBM and translate into action? So like all of our courses, we already have our eyes on updating. Oh, sorry, and I forgot to mention another challenge that we had during our course was to find examples of resilience-based management that span all three dimensions, so ecological, social, and governance. We often found some that span two, but never really all three. And so, as I was saying, we already have our eyes on updating this course and trying to fill the gaps where we've identified them. And so we really welcome you to get in touch with us if you have ideas around this or solution, or if you've got examples of RBM that we could use, and we'd love to hear from you. So if you're interested in the course or in material the Reef Resilience Network is offering, here's how to connect with the network and become a member to receive updates or discuss with us. Thank you so much.